Baghdad is a name most people associate with chaos. It flashes in news tickers, a byword for conflict and ancient strife. But here's what almost no one knows. This city was once the smartest place on Earth. For over 5 centuries, it was the undisputed capital of global intellect, a beacon that outshone all others. A place where modern science, medicine, and mathematics were preserved, while much of the world was still in darkness. Where the zero found its home, where the planet's motions were charted with stunning accuracy, where surgical manuals were illustrated centuries before Europe's Renaissance. And that version of Baghdad didn't disappear. It was forgotten, deliberately buried under the weight of newer narratives, its brilliance overshadowed by the dust of modern turmoil. 1. The city that saved knowledge. Over 1,000 years ago, Baghdad became the center of human learning. Founded in 762 AD as the jewel of the Abbasid Caliphate, it was designed from the ground up to be a city of peace and a nexus for the world's minds. Scholars gathered here from across continents: Persian engineers, Greek philosophers, Indian mathematicians, Jewish physicians, and Nestorian Christian translators, all drawn to the legendary House of Wisdom, a vast academic complex that was part library, part translation institute, part research center. Books were translated systematically. Caliphs paid translators the weight of the books in gold. Ptolemy's Almagest, Aristotle's Physics, the medical canons of Galen and Hippocrates, all were rendered from Greek, Syriac, and Persian into Arabic, creating a single expansive language of science. Ideas were shared freely. In its halls, the rigorous logic of Athens met the observational science of Persia and the numerical genius of India, sparking breakthroughs that would fuel the world for a millennium. Here's the shock. Without Baghdad, much of ancient Greek and Roman knowledge wouldn't exist today. Those original texts were lost in their native lands. The Arabic translations made in Baghdad were later translated back into Latin in places like Toledo in Sicily, becoming the primary texts for European universities. The Renaissance doesn't happen without this city. It was the indispensable bridge, the great archive and laboratory that carried the legacy of antiquity forward through time. 2. The river that never left. A river runs through Baghdad, the Tigris, Al-Dijla in Arabic. More than a geographic feature, it is the city's eternal heartbeat, a silent witness to everything. Empires rose and fell around it. The Abbasids, the Mongols, the Ottomans, the British, all sought to control its banks. Borders changed. Wars came and went. But daily life never fully stopped. The river's rhythm is immutable. Fishermen still cast their nets at dawn. The Mawwal, a traditional Sum poem, still rises from riverside caves. Families still board small hashikats to cross its brown, flowing waters. Families still gather on the Corniche on Thursday evenings, sharing mesgoof, the signature smoked fish, cooked on open fires by the shore. Markets still pulse. In the labyrinthine alleyways of Sharjah, the air thick with the scent of spices, tea, and burning incense. Conversations stretch late into the night, over endless glasses of sweet tea, debating politics, football, and poetry with the same passionate intensity as their ancestors. The contrast is jarring. What the world imagines, a monochrome landscape of rubble and despair, versus what still exists, a resilient, complex, and vibrant metropolis of over 8 million people, enduring, adapting, living. And then there's the part history almost erased, the story not of empires, but of memory itself, and how it can be shattered. 3. The loss no one talks about. Baghdad lost more than buildings. It lost libraries. The House of Wisdom was utterly destroyed by the Mongol siege in 1258. But the loss didn't stop there. Centuries of accumulated knowledge, regathered in institutions and private collections, faced repeated assaults, through subsequent invasions, through the decay of time, and through modern calamities. Manuscripts, astronomical charts on gazelle skin, medical texts with marginal notes from doctors across generations, philosophical commentaries debated for centuries, entire lifetimes of knowledge, the intellectual output of generations, the cumulative progress of a civilization, housed in ink and parchment. Some were burned. thrown into the Tigris in 1258, so many it was said the river ran black with ink and red with the blood of scholars. Some stolen, looted from museums and libraries in the chaos of recent wars, scattered into the shadowy global trade of antiquities. Some vanished forever, eaten by neglect, lost to damp and ruin in bomb-damaged vaults, their unique contents dying a second, final death. What's unsettling is this. Civilizations don't collapse overnight. Their political structures might fall in a battle, but their spirit lingers in art, in law, in recorded thought. They fade when memory disappears, when the book's close, when the chain of transmission is broken, when a people are severed from the proof of their own genius. That is the true sacking of a city. If you're drawn to places with hidden stories, where the ground you walk on is a palimpsest, layered with forgotten glory and quiet resilience, where reality contradicts what we're told, where the headline is a veneer, and the truth is found in the streets, in the archives, in the stubborn persistence of life and culture, subscribe. This channel explores the world beyond the headlines. We dig into the layers, seeking the light that endures in places the world has wrongly written off. 4. Life after the story ends. Here's what surprises most visitors. Baghdad isn't frozen in tragedy. Life here is not a museum of sorrow. It is a dynamic, pressurized, and fiercely joyful existence. There's humor. A dark, swift, resilient humor that punctures hardship, heard in taxicabs and market stalls. Music, from the classical makam performed in cultural clubs to the pop anthems blasting from cell phones, sound is an act of defiance. Pride, a deep, often wounded but unkillable pride in their identity, in their history, in their sheer ability to survive. We are the people of Baghdad, they say with a weight that spans ages. People don't live inside history. They are not ghosts haunting the ruins of the House of Wisdom. They live after it. They build caves where checkpoints once stood. They fall in love, start businesses, and argue about the future on these ancient streets. The past is a foundation, not a prison. And that may be the most human story of all. Not the tale of golden ages, but the narrative of mourning that always comes after the longest night, the stubborn, ordinary, extraordinary act of continuing. 5. Why this city still matters. Baghdad proves something uncomfortable. Places aren't defined by their worst moments. A single chapter of devastation does not become the whole book. The city is a chronicle, not a headline. They're defined by what survives them, by the ideas that escaped the flames and traveled the world, by the river that still flows, by the slang, the recipes, the poetic verses, the memories held in families, the determination to rebuild, again and again, and against all odds. This city is still here. It has been sacked, besieged, occupied, and bombed, yet it persists. Its very existence is a quiet, monumental rebuttal to oblivion. Baghdad isn't what most people think. It is not a synonym for endless war. It is a library with many of its greatest books missing, but with scholars still alive in its children. It is a testament to the fragility of knowledge and the durability of the human spirit. And neither is Iraq. The cradle of civilization itself, the land of Ur, Babylon, and Nineveh, holds stories in its soil that are the bedrock of our shared human journey. In the next episode, we're traveling to cities that invented civilization itself, to places where writing began, where the first laws were codified, where the wheel first turned, and uncovering why almost no one visits them. We'll explore the politics of memory, the barriers of perception, and the hidden wonders that lie off the world's beaten path. Subscribe and keep going with us, beyond the noise, into the deeper story.